What's going on, traders? Welcome back to another live stream. If you're new, my name is Zach. This is Real Deal Futures. Before we jump onto the charts, make sure you read what's on the screen. Trading is risky. Most traders do lose money. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't provide financial advice. Nothing I say or do is a suggestion or recommendation to do anything at all. Make sure you do your own research and make your own trading decisions. Read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is, even in funded prop firm accounts. And the affiliate and partnership disclaimer that says I stand to make money from links and codes in my content, like Top 1 Futures, code RDF, Bookmap, and others. What's going on, chat? Yeah, we're looking good. I think you guys can see and hear me. Let's hop on the chart, see what we got going on here this morning. We are going to be taking a look at ES here. I've got a 7-pack of 150K straight to funded pro accounts from Top 1 Futures loaded up here on the Project X platform. Going to be taking a look at what we got for news coming right out of the gate, because I've had a hella frustrating morning dealing with tech issues. One social media or something tech, or it's like something's very like stupid. All of a sudden Instagram decided that it didn't want to show any of my reels. So a million different things, and then I had stuff scheduled because I got a vacation coming up, and of course everything gets deleted. So it's me complaining right off of the open. But anyway, didn't have a whole bunch of time to really hop on the charts, get a good feel for stuff. So I'm going to be doing that this morning with you guys here right now. One thing I like to review, even though I posted this already in Discord, so technically I did look at it. We've got 10 a.m. consumer confidence, Richmond Manufacturing Index at 10 a.m. Medium impact news event, nothing too crazy, but we'll be watching out for some volatility right around 10 a.m. Past that, let's hop onto the charts. Let's look at the daily. I do have my charts marked up. We're going to be looking at the daily. Looking at the daily to get started here. Tuesday, end of summer, man, end of August. I don't know. This price action's just been tough. I'm going to keep my expectations low overall for the week. I'm going to put my risk on, right, as I see fit when my trade's set up, but my expectations are very low. I'm not looking to force anything. Had a very nice week last week. I would expect stuff to start kicking back up into fall, September, October, but this like last week of August type deal after some big movement and then not a whole lot of news until next week. I'm keeping expectations low overall. That's my context, bringing in some fundamentals. But taking a look at this from a technical standpoint, breaking retest structure to the upside, continuing to push highs. I think we're likely to either sell off down here towards the 6410s. Let's see. Yeah, like all the way down to like the 6400s, 6390s, or we push right back up to like the 72s, 75s, 80s. We come and check this area of high volume out. We could chop around VWAP. We could just kind of have another choppy day, kind of hanging out, chopping around VWAP. Like yesterday was literally a whole bunch of nothing for the opening session. Just absolute VWAP chop with a little pop and then a little sell-off. The close was the highest volume candles that we saw printed. So just frame and trade ideas on this. I got some zones marked. I'd be looking down towards this level here, down towards the 6400s if we start to sell off back past overnight low. But first, I'd like a sweep of that for a buy. We start to push to the upside. I think back up here, this area of high volume, 70s, 470s, right? 475s, 480s. Back up to yesterday's, volume point of control somewhere up here. Otherwise, we just chop around. So we'll see. We'll see if we start to get some buyers to step in here. If we sell off pretty aggressively, I'm going to look to buy a dip today. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to just be dead wrong and we sell off to oblivion. It's a nice big down day. We're coming back towards prior day low. Like, that's fine. But I'd be looking to buy a dip if we do start to turn to the downside, go and sweep overnight low. Look to get a good way to structure risk, a good entry point on a potential move back up towards yesterday's volume, the area where we're doing some business. Taking a look at Bookmap. Yeah, Bookmap supports that thesis. So let's get this set up. That's framing it off the 15-minute. Let's do our side-by-side, 15-minute and 1 minute. zoom all the way out, and then reset the chart, right? So we can have VWAP in the right spot. And I'll say what's up to you guys just a minute. I know we got some people in chat, but hopped on here a couple minutes after the bell, so I want to make sure we get some analysis rolling for you guys. We get what you guys are here looking for, right? That good analysis, or at least the way that I analyze the markets, right? My analysis. So if I take a look at Bookmap real quick before we start chatting it up, take a look at Bookmap real quick, kind of supports my thesis here, right? We have overnight low at, we have overnight low at 64.30, right? That wick down, where we continued to sell off after session close. So we got overnight low down here, and we start to die off on, resting orders buy side until we get all the way down to 6,400, right? So I do think if we start to sell off a little bit, if we don't catch some buyers here start to push to the upside, we don't catch it after sweeping overnight low, I think we're coming all the way down 6,400, 6390s. It's an area of high volume outside of just what we got down here. If we start to pop to the upside, maybe we sell off 10, 15 points, get a nice entry, and then look for a long. I think we got a reason to run up here, right? We got some liquidity sitting up here. That was a little bit weird about it getting moved around right there a couple minutes ago. But we got some liquidity sitting up here at the 482 and a halves, and then all the way back up at this nice round psychological number, 6,500. I wouldn't be holding, probably wouldn't be holding for a 50-point move, but maybe something back towards VWAP if we start to get a little dip out of this market. Overall, we do have a little bit of downtrend, downtrend forming here, right? If I come back over to the 15-minute, zoom out, here's our highs, right? Massive, news candle. We didn't come back down to check this out yet. This could be the day, right? Or at some point this week. I did say I thought it was pretty likely that we come back down to check this area out. Really just trade all the way back across this news candle, come back down around these lows. 6,400, 6390s would be in play for that. So we'll have to see. But so far, let's see. Overnight session. Nothing too crazy in the overnight session after that sell-off into the close. Chopping around VWAP, opening up to the upside, above VWAP, back into prior day's low. Back and forth, finding buyers at VWAP here, bouncing around. That's what I've got so far. So let's see. We start to sell off a little bit. I'm going to be looking for a buy. We could take off right from here, 9:41 a.m. We could absolutely take off right from here. I'm sure we got a lot of VWAP players getting long off of VWAP. We got holding, VWAP holding twice. Maybe you're, stopped down into the 40s. You say, hey, Zach, this thing's going to go, and you're not going to get a chance to buy it. That's cool. I'm not a buy the breakout in the first 10 minutes of or 5 minutes of New York session. That's just not my play. I don't find that works very well for me at all. I find being a little bit more patient, waiting for the gamblers and the algos to go crazy right off the open, and then kind of come in once the market maybe starts to show its hand. Seems to work a little bit better for me. But what do I know? I'm just an idiot here yapping on YouTube for entertainment purposes only. Now that we got through all that, what's up, chat? What's going on? Good morning. Andrew, Chuck, JB, what's up? Good morning, everybody. May you all have a green trading day. Absolutely. Love that. Alan, what's up? Wolf, what's up? Jess, what's going on? Rhombus, what's going on? Latin Jimenez, what's up? Ralph, what's going on? What is happening, chat? Welcome back. Welcome back to another live stream here. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Smash like, smash subscribe. You don't have to do anything. Free means free. I'm here free every damn day, showing you what real trading looks like for me. Real trading, not a trading view screen with me talking about trading. Actually trading. Let's see. Holding VWAP so far. Let's see. Let's see what we got here, chat. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, holding VWAP, man. This looks pretty strong out of the gate. You know, I don't have a trade on structure where we just take off, you know, right from the open. This is a break and retest of VWAP. So, you know, maybe this is your trade. You say, hey, this is beautiful. I'm taking the break of these highs. Stop loss right here. Take profit, you know, right here, and that's your play. You say, if we come back down through these lows, that invalidates my trade idea. I'm buying the breakout. I want to see the extension. That's not my trade. Definitely not my trade. I think we often see a lot of just back and forth craziness for NYSE Open before we actually move in the direction that we're going to move in. Kind of take everybody out first, but not always. Sometimes we just take off in one direction and go. Maybe a small retest of VWAP is all we get, and then we just kind of continue forward. But for me, yeah, all the way up to the 65s to overnight high has liquidity. For me, I'd like to see a dip out of this market. I'd like to see a dip, pull back down. It doesn't have to be all the way down to like overnight low, but I would definitely like to see a dip out of this thing. Yeah, and again, maybe you're reading this from the short side, just kind of framing out, you know, other potential trade ideas that are here. Maybe you're reading this from the short side and you're like, we are coming down through that overnight low. We're going to push lower first. You know, I want this bad boy short because if we don't come up here and break through overnight high and continue, I think we're continuing lower. We sold off into the close yesterday. We've had a couple down days. I think that's going to continue, maybe at least down to overnight low. You know, that's not a terrible setup either. It's not a horrible play to the downside first. You know, if I had to take a trade, that would be it. I would not be buying it for the breakout from up here. I don't think there's any good spot to put a stop loss anywhere down here. I would have to be short, back down towards overnight low, at least just back down to the kind of the middle ground of this choppiness from the overnight session. If I had to put a trade on, that's what I'd be looking. I'd be fading this pop to the upside. But I don't have a setup yet. No real reversion, no real continuation. If I had to take something short, $9.46. Yeah, I mean this actually isn't terrible. This actually isn't terrible, chat. Do we hold here and then go push the high, or do we come right back down through VWAP? Kind of feels like we're coming back down through VWAP. I think I'm going to wait. I don't think I'm going to try to play it both ways, right? Like short first and then long. I think I'm going to wait, hold my risk to put on for when we potentially get a setup that I'm really looking for, which would be long today, but at an ideal place. But so far, this was looking pretty tasty for the short side. We started to drop off really heavy on CVD. Not a bad way to structure risk with a stop way up here. But this feels like we want to come lower. Fake out to the upside, little double top action, and then we start to come back down. I'm going to wait. Not going to do anything too crazy. Let's see. I think we are likely to get a little bit more movement than yesterday. Yesterday was just a whole lot of nothing. That was a good example of just don't waste your time, your mental capital, your actual trading capital in straight up VWAP chop. A whole lot of nothing. This is feeling like we got some more momentum. We got some more volume. It's looking like it as well. We might get some movement today. I'm waiting too. Nice. Where's Scott? That's a good question. What's up, guys? What's going on? What is going on? Welcome back. Appreciate you guys being here as always. Oh, excuse me. I kind of like this short, guys. I kind of like this short. You know, we could find buyers like right here and just continue higher, but I don't think we do. CBD dropped off heavy. I would just be right above this high, and it's not that beautiful, but I do like this short. Here we go, as I'm saying it, playing out to the downside. Yeah, that was an opportunity. A little pullback to VWAP for a continuation lower. Dang, just not quick enough on the draw today. Let's see. This is good though. You're starting to get into the flow, right? You start to get a feel of things that are getting ready to happen. You start to get a good read of market structure. Price starts moving in a way that you're watching the market, and whether that's a little bit of discretion or intuition or whatever it is. I find when the market's not doing anything that you expect it to do at all, and everything you start to anticipate or the way that you're viewing it, it's just doing like the complete opposite. It's usually a good indication to kind of just back off, not not really look to do anything crazy. Maybe you're out of sync with the market, or just for whatever reason, you're not really reading it well. Start to have movements like this, and you go, yeah, okay, we're doing what I think we should be doing right now. This is looking about right. We didn't just blast off from the open, right? We was waiting for a pullback to start to form to potentially look long. I liked it short as we started to come back down, but not enough to start getting short on it, right? You can use up capital. Maybe like, for example, I think it's going to come lower, right? And I'd like a long. And so a lot of people say, well, why don't you take it short? If you think it's going to come lower before you get long, why don't you go short? Well, maybe that doesn't happen, or maybe I get wicked out. And now I've taken an L and I've reduced my, I've taken my entire trade, amount of capital that I want to risk for the day, and I've lost that, or I've lost at least one, and I'm not in a good spot to take it if it finally does come down, right? So, sometimes waiting for the better setup, I think, can be helpful. Let's see. Wow, coming right back up on this. Wow. Coming directly back up on this after sweeping this 15-minute opening range low, coming back down into the low end of this area. This is interesting. I'm still waiting. I'm still gonna wait because I think we could potentially come lower, but that's quite a bit of buyers that stepped right back in. I'm interested to see if that's a beautiful short opportunity, but I'm still not ready for a long play. A lot of liquidity down below, all the way down towards that overnight low level. We got that 10 a.m. news coming up in about 4 minutes. I kind of like this short, guys, to be honest. I'm not jumping into anything yet because overall this is pretty choppy. And I don't want to be, yeah, look at that. Here's some volatility upside. I don't want to be in one way or the other out of the middle ground of this. A lot of buyers stepped in right there. I still like this short back down towards this overnight low to go clean out some liquidity down around the 45s all the way down to the 64.35s. But I think I'm just going to have to stay patient. I could feel myself wanting to put the trade on. It's not jumping out from the screen at me the way that I like. I think this could pop pretty quickly the way that we just did. And we've got this 10 a.m. news. So I think I'm probably just going to wait this 5 minutes out. These next 5 minutes out. Let's see. Yeah, guys, we got about 4 minutes to medium impact news. Nothing too crazy. I still think this could go either way. As we started to push lower on that one, pull back up and find some sellers before that initial pop. Look like it could be okay for a short. This could be just a dip down before we take off. This news might make it dicey to trade, but I'm not jumping into anything just yet. Here we are, 9:56. Only a couple minutes before that orange folder news. I'm not gonna gamble that. If I had a beautiful setup, throwing something on and holding through, not always a bad play. Definitely not always a bad play. But I'm gonna be waiting to see how this starts to roll out here. Let's see. Waiting 2, bought the bottom with this price action. I'm waiting until after the news at 10. I closed. Nice. Freeze X took a little long play. I like a short 2, but after the news. Yeah, I want to see. I want to see what this news looks like, right? High time frame trend up. Maybe medium time frame, 15-minute trend to the downside. Been selling off a little bit. I got 2 levels on my chart. We don't have to go to either one of them, but I do see either a move to the upside back towards the 75s, or a move to the downside all the way back down towards the 6400s. Those are the 2 like larger areas of high volume in between where we're sitting right now that I could see a larger move to the upside or downside. So I want to trade on the way to those levels, right? That's kind of the thesis here, guys. If we sell off a bit, 9:58, we got about 2 minutes. If we sell off a bit and we find buyers at a key level, maybe at, around that overnight low, around the 35s, it could give a good entry for a long, at least back up towards VWAP if we start to see buyers step in. Short side, it would be, from up here. I really wouldn't be waiting for a big push up because if we take off from here, I don't know that we find sellers quickly outside of this area until we get all the way up towards, the 70s, 75s, 80s. So I'm going to wait to see what this news is. Long story short, watch this come out. And then I won't mind trading too aggressively right after it. It's not red folder, right? It's nothing Shouldn't be too crazy. But I'm gonna hang tight until we get this news. Choppy overall, right? Like what did we really get so far on this session? You know, looking at the 1 minute chart here. Here's our open, right? Here's our 9:30 open. Here's our low. And here's our high. Here's our session so far, right? So I try to stay objective, right? We're looking at trend, we're looking at VWAP, we're looking at different tools, we're looking at Bookmap, but this is what we've got so far, okay? nothing too crazy, nothing to write home about, where if I just copy and pasted that onto a blank white screen and I said, what do you think? VWAP's right here, we headed up or we headed down, if you take that in isolation. That's kind of just choppy, right? Kind of just choppy. Not a whole lot of directional movement or really strong indication that we're going to, do one thing over another, or a good way to structure risk, right? Kind of like yesterday, you're getting long or short from the middle of the range and you can throw a stop on the outside of it, right? That's not really high probability conditions. I don't love that word, so let me not use that. That's not the setup that I like to see before jumping in long or short on something. So here we go, guys. 10 a.m. news coming out right now. Orange folder, medium impact. Looks like it wants to pop a little bit unless we just turn right down and rip everybody's face off. Looking kind of strong right out of the gate here. Let's see. Let's see. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Do we get that kind of aftershock here where we like buy or step in really aggressively and we blast off? Or do we start to... This looks like it could be a wick up towards overnight high. We got liquidity right above price right here. Can you turn back down without filling this? Yeah, I think we either crack this high and we come right through the 65s, or we continue lower here, and we go all the way back down to the 45s. We got some liquidity sitting right up here, but we didn't want to go and grab it just yet. That presents kind of a cheap trade to the downside. I don't know if I want to fade that, though. Eyeballing a setup here, guys. Eyeballing a setup. Looking at this bad boy short.
Order filled.
Yeah, I'm going to try this one short, guys. I'm going to try this one short. I think we either come directly through this to the upside and we get a pretty aggressive crack, or we come right back down towards this 45. But I'm just going to get short one from up here. You know, there's a way to structure this really, really tight, like stops like right in here, where the thesis is we start to sell off, come back down through VWAP. But I'm going to go on the other side of quite a bit of liquidity here where I'm really going to be dead wrong and let this thing come all the way up to sweep overnight high. I'm going to throw my stop like way outside of this where if we come through overnight high, we sweep overnight high, we don't find sellers all the way up here to come back down, back through VWAP, and we just continue, I'm absolutely dead wrong. But I'm going to go with a stop outside of this. This is going to be my one trade, essentially my one trade for the day. My other opportunity was to take it super, super tight and just put like $200 or $250 worth of risk on the line. But I'm going to throw a wide stop on this, let this thing develop. If we turn down, just to kind of frame this, if we turn down really aggressively, which I would love to see us do. Nope, looks like we want to come through to the 65s. Damn. If we turn down really aggressively from here, I could tighten up on stops. But I'm going to throw this one. I'm going to throw this one on. Ooh, there's a little bit of volatility there. I'm going to throw this one on with a wide stop. Nice wide stop. Looking for a move down towards that overnight low level. That's my game plan. First, we got to get back down towards the 45s where we got quite a bit of liquidity. Maybe like below this session low. That's what I'd like to see so far. So let's see. That's going to be my play for today. Don't mind this one. We consolidated. Buyers had plenty of chances to take this thing higher. I think we either see a really nice reversion here, a really nice sell-off, or we start that slow grind higher. We get some buyers that step in, clear out the 65s all the way up above overnight high, and then we just start drifting higher, and it's one of those, recovery days all the way back up towards the 70s, 75s, 80s, right? But I'd like a move to the downside first. Wanted to get long in this market, really did, but nowhere up here. Not at all a play. It would have to be from way down here. So, short one, 64.54 and a half, 1 ES. Stop up at 70 and a half, but like I said, this is one where I would adjust, right? Just depends on what starts to print here. I would consider getting much tighter on this one if we start to sell off really quickly. So I kind of have a trade thesis, right? Allowing a lot of room right off the open at the beginning of this trade. And if we start to do one thing over another, I could consider tightening up, right? I'd be cautious if we sold off really aggressively, like through this low, that maybe that's going to be a wick down before we continue back up. But we'll see. We'll see how this starts to develop, right? That's going to be my play. What do you guys think? You getting long in this? You getting short in this market? You staying flat? You let me know what you think. I find playing with a blown account for the first 60 minutes helped me from FOMOing in. Yep. Very boring 5-minute candle. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of like theses behind that, strategies, just playing with a practice account, paper trading, doing all the dumb stuff that you don't want to do in a live account, in a paper trading account, right, in a demo account, and you kind of watch it play out over time and not really work out. I think it can kind of build a bad habit. I think if you have to do that, if you have to do it, right? If you feel the urge and you can't keep yourself disciplined and just watching the chart in front of you, sure, hop on a paper trading account, take all the dumb, crazy trades that you want to take, watch it not work out in the long run, right? Just trade like crazy right off the open. But I think eventually you do want to stop doing that because, you're kind of like constantly exercising that bad habit. But I do think it can be helpful, There's people that I've heard people that say essentially taking the opposite side of all of your trades, doing the exact opposite, and watching how that plays out in like a practice account, or putting your trades on with a stop and target and not managing them at all in a practice account, just kind of watching how that plays out on the side, could be interesting. Not exactly what we're talking about with just playing around on an account to try to keep yourself from doing something stupid. Yeah, let's see what the market's got for me. Let's see what the market's got for me. I like this one, though. I don't have any opportunity to the upside. And if we start to push to the upside from here, there was no opportunity for me to get long. That doesn't mean I have to be short, but buyers attempting to bring this thing higher multiple times, continuing to fail. We've got some liquidity down below. No crazy strong CVD. It is positive, 1,600, but it's not like 6,000, right? Or 10,000 right out of the gate, where it really looks strong to push the highs. We got a little wick down here, but like not deep enough before a move to the upside, before a big move to the upside that I would like to see. So I could see this thing starting to turn. I think if we do get back down here below this low, this could turn into something pretty solid. So we'll see. Anything can happen, right? ACH, we put our trades on without reservation or hesitation, in the wise words of Mark Douglas. And then let them play out. All right, that's all we can do. Yeah, 40. What is this on the book to the downside? 44 and a half. Right down around that low. That's going to be a key level if we start to sell off. Growing CVD now as we start to come through some liquidity to the upside. Let's see. Do we have to get through the 60s or the 65s? Or can we get a wick and a reversion? Let's see, chat. See what the market's got for me. And while we do that, I'll be right back. Chair's going to trade for me. Good luck, Chair. All right, chat. How did Chair do? Chair? Not bad, Chair. Not bad. Back into profit. You see, guys, this is why I should let my chair trade for me too. It might be profitable. See, this is why, like, you guys think it's for me going to go hit the bathroom or grab some water. Chair just knows what to do, man. He's always on the right side of the trade. No, no. But listen, there's a good thought in there. There's nothing for me to do in this trade. I have a minute. If we started to sell off really aggressively and I didn't get a chance maybe to like look at taking profit, that's the only spot where I would have a problem. But I never anticipate leaving for more than a couple minutes. If you struggle with trade management, meaning holding your winners, holding your losers, not doing anything when you're not supposed to do anything, I was telling you guys in chat, or maybe it was Discord, listening to more Al Brooks these days, the Walmart trade, right? Take the Walmart trade, put a trade on and go to Walmart. Just let it play out. Just stop doing crazy stuff when you're trading. So yeah, let your trader trade for you. Throw it, take profit in the way that I didn't on this one, but throw it, take profit in, throw a stop loss in, and then let it get hit. There's some additional risks, right? Like there's some really not common things that can happen that would be, maybe I'd be a little bit more cautious in a live account. Like I would also always have an alert set as that order is getting filled to make sure that you come back and that they actually did fill and you got closed out, you got taken out of your position. But like in a prop account, you can do the same thing. You set, trading view alerts. But if your goal is to hold to a set take profit and set stop loss, you shouldn't even watch the chart. You should just go do something else. Read a trading book, backtest, review, do something completely different, or automate it. Maybe you're on Project X, unfortunately, is, something that everybody's been complaining about and asking for is some trade management automations, but try to automate it, automatic stop loss to break even, trailing if you're going to trail, and just take yourself out of the equation if you can. If you struggle with that, if you struggle to hold your winning trades or hold your losing trades, right? You immediately go break even, you take yourself out of winners. It's a really common one, a really common, trading execution error. Dancing around these highs, yeah, guys. I would have liked to see that sell-off continue that we just saw there. We tested prior day low, came back up on this one. Could be the quick move right back up towards overnight high. Unfortunately, I'd love to see this thing continue. I'm leaving it on. I'm definitely leaving it on. The 60s, 65s, last ditch to find some sellers here. To clear out some liquidity right above this overnight high, maybe to the 65s, which is why my stop loss is way out there. But we may just not be coming lower today. This is bullish price action, bullish structure, right off the open. I'm fading that for a number of reasons. And we do have some liquidity to go grab to the downside. Nice buy side orders have continued to come on the book, right? If there was absolutely nothing down here, I really would like this much less. The 44.5s, right around the 44.5s, is actually looking pretty light right now. But that's been on for a while. That's right down around session lows. We've had the 48s come on, the 40s come on. We're not terribly thin all the way to the downside, so I don't mind this. But this is what we could be coming to grab, and if we do that, it could be a quicker move up past my stop loss up here, which is right there actually. Maybe we need to wick crazy higher, right? Take everybody out that got short on this like me right now, maybe come lower, but my trade thesis would just be wrong. Would just be completely wrong. If we go and trade in, more than 10 points higher than this, we're not selling off from up here. We're not coming back down through VWAP. We're pushing higher. And if it's a wick up and then come back down, I didn't wait for that overnight high to be taken out today. Stop on the outside of it, but that would be a different trade thesis. So we'll see. We will see. Nothing to do but let the market do what it's going to do. Maybe there is stuff to do for other people. I found the more that I widen out stops and targets and then let the damn trade play out either to a full stop or to a take profit at a spot that I feel is reasonable. Like that's where I apply the most discretion in my trade management, is actually for taking profit, where exactly I want to take profit. I find that works best for me. You might find, no, as soon as I'm, if it just doesn't work out right away, time-based stop, clip it. You might say, nope, take it off right here, give yourself another shot. It's not working. You might add, you might move stop loss tighter, farther away. You might do, a million different things, right? But you trust your data, right? Your review, you find what works for you traditionally, what doesn't work for you over a decent sample size. That's pretty much it. Very hard. We're talking about something. Appreciate you guys hopping on, as always. Let me go ahead and do this. I've been posting more across socials. If you want to catch me on IG, there you guys, IG. There's my Instagram. Posting more stories, more fun stuff, talking about trading, normal life stuff. I'll be traveling next week, so I'll be putting a bunch of stories about all of the random places that I'm running around, go travel to. If you want to learn more about what I'm like outside of trading itself, that's probably a good spot to do it. I don't post too much more on X. I probably will have to come back to it at a certain point, but like I've talked about in the past, it's so horribly negative on there. It's a real nightmare on there these days. Yeah, if we could get some follow through on one of these sell-offs, that would be great. That would be great. Otherwise, I think we're in for a quick move either way. Looking at this zoomed out on the 15, this could be a move right back up to this area of high volume, right? Could come through this pretty quickly, and I don't know that we find sellers right here if we do come all the way to the upside. I always like to try to frame the other side of my trade, right? Like what's reasonable to happen the complete opposite way that I'm trading. It would be that. It would just be little bullish structure off the open, no crazy movement, and a continuation of the upside. Let's grab a fixed range. I hate that. My stops at yesterday's volume point of control. Don't love that. Nope. Continuing to find buyers. That's what we got so far, guys. Continuing to find buyers. We had some nice selling pressure, some nice volume to the downside, but getting bought right back up. Not looking lower. Not looking lower for lower prices just yet. Here we go. Trading at the 60s. We got liquidity towards the 65s. I think it's unlikely now that we don't go and sweep overnight high. Maybe the 65s. Just unfortunately on the wrong side of this one, at least for now. Stop is wide where I think it's a clean invalidation point, where I say if we make it all the way up there, I'm completely dead wrong. I no longer want to be short. I don't think we're coming all the way down through lows of the session. I don't think I have a good risk structure. That's as wide as I can make it. But This, unfortunately, still pushing higher. Not on an insane amount of volume to the upside. Not super duper volatile, but obviously buyers in store. We swept below VWAP, back up towards overnight high. Not playing out in my favor, at least not today. Again, leaving it on. I still think we could come back down. We still have plenty of liquidity on the book to the downside to go and potentially grab. But bullish so far. I think at any point we really could see the nice cliff today, but not yet. Not yet. Not yet, chat. And while we're hanging out, watching my trade unfortunately play out to the upside as I'm short, we got a giveaway rolling for top 1 futures. We got not 1, not 5, not 10. We got 40 25K instant funded accounts up for grabs this week. This runs through Sunday, August 31st, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Any purchase of a top 1 futures account using code RDF gets you an entry to win one of 40 25K instant funded accounts. These are the no challenge accounts, the no activation fee, the no intraday trailing drawdown, no ESS. These are the preferred account types. If you want to check it out, link is pinned to the chat. It's also 50% off all accounts through the end of this week. If you guys want to check it out, links in chat. Remember, guys, I'm partnered. I'm biased. I stand to make money. I can't be unbiased if I stand to make money. Important for me to be transparent about that and for you to do your own research and make your own decisions. Hella important. Yeah, I'm watching this I'm watching this closely on Bookmap. Shorts just continuing not to pay me. I talked about it a lot. I talked about it on Discord. Talked about it in my review. I don't know. I think I probably have to take the sell button completely off of my trading platform. I don't know, become a long only trader. I don't know. Don't know, but it's laughable. Let's see. It took forever yesterday. I hope my longs touch my TP today because yesterday was exhausted. I feel that. How do you set your volume profile? This is a visible range volume profile, visible range. Here's the settings on this one. If you typed in the indicators VPVR on Project X, this would pop up. I have the row size changed up a little bit here, and I have this number changed up a little bit. It's pushed over to the right-hand side a little bit more. Colors are just monotone, and then I have the point of control here. But I'm assuming that's the volume profile that you're looking for. The other one that I do like is what I was drawing out. On TradingView, they have a session volume profile HD. And it would be either for New York session, for example. So I actually just jacked it up. From 9:30 a.m. Eastern, for example, right there. Looking at the 15-minute chart, you can get a value area low, value area high, and a volume point of control. I think those can be helpful. And that's just the drawing tool, the fixed range volume profile drawing tool. Let's see. What's your typical win rate? 60%? It varies, brother. It varies. I prefer not to try to give out stats and say, trust me, bro. I just trade live here every day. You can watch the stuff play out in real time and decide for yourself. I find in general, I have a pretty modest win rate and a pretty modest risk to reward. I'm pretty neutral, right? I can be as descriptive as that, I'd say, without just going out on a limb. I don't find that I have a extremely high win rate or an extremely high risk to reward. I find them to be both, if I'm doing well, both slightly positive, being over a 50% and over a 1-to-1. But even that varies a little bit. So that's kind of where I would find myself. But again, it's tough. It varies drastically, right? You got to look at a large sample size. Last week, my win rate on here with you guys trading live was 100%. I won every single trade, right? This week so far, I'm no trade yesterday morning session, 1L in the afternoon session, right? I also do some different things, right? What's my win rate here trading ES off of the open versus for power hour? Those are probably going to differ. But I'd say, it's a valid question. I'd say in general, I'm going to be, if I'm doing well, I'm going to be a little over that 50% mark and a little over a 1-to-1. I think when my risk to reward seems to increase, I'm catching some larger movements, that win rate goes down, right? Just natural relationship between the two. If I find that I'm trading intraday trailing drawdown prop account, I'm clipping my trades, nice and aggressively, obviously my risk to reward is going to drop, that win rate's going to go up a little bit. But I'm pretty neutral on both. I'm around that 1-to-1. And a little bit positive on that win rate. I don't run a super low win rate, super high risk to reward system, or vice versa. A very negative risk to reward, what we call a negative risk to reward, really, really high win rate. But I have a whole presentation on win rate and risk to reward, the relationship between the two, talking about expectancy, all of those things, if you're interested in that, on YouTube. But I like just trading live here. I think anything else is me telling you something, and that's not, you don't have to trust me on anything. You can verify it because I trade live here. So I like to just do that rather than say what my stuff is, right? Just watch it play out in real time. You can lose 50% and be very profitable. Yeah. You can lose 70% of your trades and be very profitable if you have a win rate to support it. You can win 70% of your trades and be very unprofitable, right? Comes down to your win rate and risk to reward, the relationship between the two. That's the deal. That's the combination to get an expectancy, right? And a whole bunch of other statistics that you can look at as far as metrics go. Zach, the market has an upward bias, but whatever, I'm not profitable, so take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, if you're trading the U.S. indices, right? If you're trading the U.S. indices in general, rhombus, they go up over time, right? Stonks tend to go up over time. If you zoom out on the monthly chart or the weekly chart on the S&P 500, what does that look like, right? Intraday, it's a very different animal, right? Trading intraday is a very different animal. Now, we've been trending to the upside overall, right? But you can easily make a case for a move to the downside, right? Last couple of days, we've been selling off, going to clear that whole news candle, right? All the reasons that I like to get short today. So I stay pretty flexible. I try to stay flexible, but like I said, in the market over the last couple of months, right? If we zoom out and we're objective, we've been in a really strong uptrend, I would say, on pretty zoomed out time frame. What's going to have worked better from the beginning of April? If you said you could only go long or only go short, what would have worked better, right, in general? Now, that's not to say that there's not a ton of movement to the downside where you could be catching shorts, catching cliffs, selling highs and make money short side, no problem. But if you're constantly trying to fade a move, a bullish market, an overall uptrend, I think can be difficult. There's times where we go into recessions, into corrections where it's repetitive, consecutive, down days, down weeks, down months even, right? And if you're looking long only, it can be a little bit difficult, right? So what I found and I try to be really honest and ask myself the hard questions, what I found over the last couple months, and this should be obvious because what direction, have we moved in here? My win rate on shorts has been abysmal, and my win rate on longs has been beautiful. It's been really aggressive, right? It's been great. Does that mean I'm only ever going to take longs? No, not at all. But I take that into consideration. I take that into context. And even though I am short today, if you go back through and watch some of my trading, take a look at how my trading looked over the last few weeks after starting to take that into consideration. A whole lot less shorts, a whole lot more longs, right? Trying to be a whole lot more cautious and be a little bit more tactical on the short side, right? But I don't think it's, I don't think it's easy enough to say only go long in the US indices. I think if you had to either be long or short, probably long, right? I would pick long. But, it comes down to your style, your personality, your entry model, what the market conditions are doing, and, and all of those. I don't think it's easy, it's easy enough to say the markets go up, so only go long. You can only make money long. We sell off for days at a time. We have gnarly down days, plenty of opportunity to downside. And I think being flexible, right? Being somewhat unbiased, not carrying a super strong indication. Like I see a lot of long bias traders, Like here's the example. If the market went up and it was a green candle for the day, I know they made money. And if the market went down and just traditionally sold off really aggressively, I know they probably hit a DLL, right? I don't think it's good to be that biased one way or the other, because you just, when the market's doing what you are looking for it to do in general, you do super well, and then you blow accounts. You just run through capital when it's just, you just can't work. You can't operate to one side. I don't think that's good. But yes, I hear what you're saying for sure. And I would take a look at the market that you're trading, right? Some markets, some instruments are very choppy, very range bound. Some are, very trendy, right? For lack of a better term, they tend to trend over time. That higher time frame trend works itself down to the lower time frames. So, important to note. But anyway, guys, still watching this trade play out. Bullish overall, pushing the upside. Didn't get the reaction that I wanted to see here. This looked nice on the 1 minute, but did not come back down on this just yet. We didn't rip everybody's face off, including mine, to the upside. We still don't have that much past the 65s, and I got 5 points of room past that. But I'd love to see the bottom fall out on this thing and come down and fill some liquidity down to these 40s. We have 442 on the book down here. Beautiful target if we start to sell off on this. So that's my trade. If you guys watch me trade, you know that I really don't do anything when the trade moves against me. I trust my stop. It's either a full stop or a full stop. If it moves in favor of me, of my trade, my direction, we start to get some green, I look for a reasonable area to take profit, right? Based on market generated information. For me, that's going to be around the 440s. Nice level of liquidity came on the book. It stayed there 20 minutes or so. It's down below session lows. I think this could turn into a much larger day to the downside if we start to sell off. But that wouldn't give me a bad way to grab some profit on this. Definitely not. So we'll see. It also depends on what happens in between now and then, right? Maybe we start to sell off like a knife, right? Bottom falls out, insane volatility. I hang on a little bit longer, right? That's my trade management. If I'm stepping away from the charts and I'm going to run, I'm going to go do whatever I'm going to do, I'm going fixed take profit, fixed stop loss, right? But I prefer to not run a fixed take profit and run a fixed stop loss, because you're on the right side of some of those events. It's very infrequent. But if the market, Trump says tariff, something insane happens, right? You don't get taken out of a beautiful cliff, right? Not always that you're going to be able to hold through it, but sometimes it happens faster than you can even imagine, which is why it's important to run a stop loss, right? So we'll see on this one, but good questions. Hogard had in his book that a guy that sold beans had a 20% win rate and made millions. Yeah. They had those guys. That was a story from him. He tells that story a lot. South African traders that had a horrible win rate, super low win rate, and made a whole lot of money, right? Here's an example. You can operate at those extremes. Some of what I talk about in that presentation that I did is, I think most traders, especially beginners, from a psychology and mindset standpoint, which is another good question that I see, which we'll talk, would do better with a more balanced risk reward and win rate. The emotional and literal swings in your P&L curve are not as drastic. But for example, I had somebody, I don't know if he's still in Discord anymore, but I had somebody in Discord for a while that was a very low win rate, very high risk to reward trader. And essentially what they would do is they would trade $100 per trade risk on NQ, and they would traditionally lose 5 times in a row. And they would have multiple days where it was negative $500 in a row. And then all of a sudden, it would look like they just hit an absolute banger. Essentially, what the thesis was is they were looking to enter really aggressively with really tight stop losses that would often be stopped out. Very low win rate. When the trade started to move in their favor, they would never close it. They would trail stops into profit once the trade really started to move. And they would catch big trades. It would be not something that would work well with the consistency rule at instant funded prop firms, but the emotional and mindset, discipline, confidence that you need to trade something like that is heavy. But this, but they would share a P&L for Top Step accounts. They were taking payouts, big payouts. It would be, $500 red, 5 losing trades, $500 red, 5 losing trades for like 5 days in a row, 8 days in a row, and then $2,500, and then another losing day, and then $3,000 green. It's not to say that stuff is out there, right? But again, it just comes down to your style, your personality, what you find works, however you want to trade the markets. Win rate and risk reward. It has to make sense. There's a combination in there that is past the natural break-even win rate. That's what you have to find. You want to have something that moves you past the break-even win rate, right? We know at a 1-to-1, we're 50% for a break-even win rate, right? Watching this thing start to come back down here, guys. We didn't get the only thing that I don't love on this. The only thing that I don't love on this, sorry for the deep sigh, is we didn't get the drop off in cumulative volume delta that I really like to see. I'll show you guys this, right? I talk about when things are working in favor of my trade and not in favor of my trade. So we started to come back down on this. I like these levels down here with Bookmap. I like what we're seeing from price action, but here's a problem. This is not supporting a continuation of the downside. Now, is CVD all that I use for my trading decisions? No, of course not. I use it in conjunction with mainly first, before even Bookmap at all, price action, market structure, volume on my chart. But I would have really loved to see this start to drop back off, right? We have price starting to come down lower, and we don't have, it's declining, but we don't have a nice steep drop off in CVD, right? Like as we started to push to the upside over here, what looked nice in CVD, growing really aggressively, growing actually as we weren't even putting new highs in, right? I'd like to see that drop off further, and it's not. Buy volume is still pretty strong here as we're coming lower. So I don't love that. I definitely think I'm going to look to take profit if this continues, which doesn't look too bad right now. If this continues around those 40s, it would be a break of session lows. I'm hanging on to it to make it worth it. Here's plenty of opportunity to get out at break even. Not my approach, not my strategy, right? Wide stop loss, wide take profit. That's the way to make it work for me. But we got to get down towards those 48s, which could be a problem right, down below VWAP. Like we could just see a dip down here and then a continuation. If we're going to hold this bullish structure and just continue higher today, this is a buying opportunity down here around VWAP and prior day low. But I'm holding on to this one. My stop's way outside of this high. I like that. We're outside of overnight high, outside of the 65s, even if we have to pop back up here before continuing lower. That's my trade thesis. Leaving it on, I don't know that I would hold past the 40s. Don't know that I would hold past the 40s. Which wouldn't be a huge banger trade relative to the risk, but we'll see. What do you think is more important aspect of trading? After psychology, risk management or strategy? Risk management, for sure. I think psychology is the differentiator. Psychology is extremely important. Experience on the charts is also another huge one, which just you get better at all of it. But what would I rather have? Who would do better? Someone with a mediocre strategy, like very small edge, mediocre type strategy, but excellent risk management skills, ability to manage risk like an absolute champion, or someone with an amazing strategy, beautiful, wonderful entries, really good edge, but horrible risk management. The first one, the dude with horrible risk management and the best strategy, it'll save you a little bit. It'll help you, but it's not going to save you from blowing up. It's not going to save you from over leveraging and being a terrible risk manager. So, that's my thought process. Risk management for sure. If you can become a great risk manager, and it's harder to do, right? You can, again, guys, there's so many strategies out there. We live in the day and age where, there's just so much available to learn, and you can find something that fits well with your personality, plays to your strengths. But if you can't manage risk and yourself, you're not able to trade it. And that's why trading is so difficult. What we do on the charts is really simple, in my humble opinion. It can be extremely complex. If that's your MO, go for it. But I watch, myself included, I do very basic, simple stuff here, and you can make a lot of money doing that, which is why it can be so frustrating. If you can't manage risk, you can't manage your emotions, you can't keep yourself in control, the best strategy is not going to help you. You're never going to be able to execute. Yeah, so I'd love to see this sell off. I really would. But we really didn't do what I want to see on cumulative volume delta as we started to come lower. And I really don't like what we started to do here above VWAP. Just some commentary on my trade playing out. But good conversation. If you guys have questions on trading, let's talk about it, man. This is the good stuff. I'm happy to chat about it. I'll give you my opinion. Again, if you don't know me, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to have it all figured out, right? I don't claim to be the best trader in the world with some magic strategy, and I talk in terms of like, I do everything perfectly, and I'm telling you what you should do. None of that stuff. Not at all. I'm a regular idiot, and I look to try to make money in the markets, and I'm happy to show you what real trading looks like for me. 100% free in real time. You could watch it play out and say, that dude sucks. I'm going to fade him and I'm going to make money. That dude's doing well. Maybe I'll listen to, what he has to say. But either way, you could do it with nothing other than $0 investment. But I love the questions, man. We could talk about trading. It's fun stuff. So let's see. If you always have a long bias and have difficulties executing shorts, you can always flip your charts on TradingView. Alt-I. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, just straight up inverse your charts. If you're short bias, flip your charts, right? Make it easy for you. Recently played with risk reward and it didn't matter at all. Placing random trades, demo, so don't kill me. With a negative risk reward, failed. Surprisingly, positive risk reward also failed. Robit, if closing the trade would be a good idea. Is there a question? Or I don't know. Wow, thanks. I had no idea. Yeah, I definitely had a problem with this. So here's the thought process, right? Here's kind of the idea that I try to operate from, Rhombus, when it comes down to win rate and risk reward. I'm gonna get the video link. Hang on, guys, because I did a whole thing on this. It was in person. So here's a segment from a Tampa event that I got to do. If you guys want to check it out, since we're talking about win rate and risk reward, it's all about win rate and risk reward, right? And it might be very basic stuff. It might be just overkill for you, but for the most part, I think most traders carry incorrect beliefs about it. Really incorrect beliefs about it. So here's the basics. You could have a positive win rate. You could have a negative win rate. You could have a really high risk reward, or a really low risk reward, right? And vice versa. It comes down to the combination of both of those two things. Most traders are taught and believe early on, which I think puts you in a box and doesn't help you out at all, that you need a high risk reward. You need to make double what you make on your winners versus what you make on your losers. You need to have a 2-to-1 or risk reward or a 3-to-1 risk reward, right? Risk reward alone, despite popular belief, provides no inherent edge in itself. I'll say that again. Risk reward alone, in isolation, does not provide any edge in the market, okay? Outside of identifying something else from a technical or fundamental standpoint and employing that in the direction that you're trading with whatever risk to reward you're using, there's no edge in risk to reward alone. We're all faced with the same challenge, which is, what is our risk to reward if we're operating with a fixed take profit and fixed stop loss? What is that risk to reward? What is the natural break-even win rate, which would be in in random market conditions, which we know we don't have technically, but in completely random market conditions, flipping a coin to go long and short and placing a stop loss and take profit, the exact same every single time, we would end up break even. Less fees, commissions, spreads, right? 50-50, 1-to-1, completely random market conditions, completely random entries, we're ending up around break even over a large enough sample size of trades. A lot of variance in between there, but a lot of sample size of trades, we're ending up break even. Same thing with a positive or negative risk to reward, right? If you throw on a 2-to-1 risk to reward, this is going to be, maybe if you're a beginner, this might be like new. If you throw on a 2-to-1 risk to reward doing exactly what I just said, random market conditions, random entry, long or short, you're ending up break even. If you have a positive risk to reward, a 2-to-1, you're ending up with whatever that natural break-even win rate is. If you have a negative risk to reward, you're ending up break even with whatever natural break-even win rate it is for your chosen risk to reward, right? Have examples in that slideshow. So if you can kind of free yourself from thinking that you have to have some super positive risk to reward or super positive win rate, and you just go, okay, wait a minute. I just need a math equation that makes sense on average that puts me past the break-even win rate in order to make money consistently in the long run. You can just do what makes sense to you. You can do what makes sense to you. There's a little bit in here that is important to note. Risk to reward will affect expectancy differently. And as you go up in risk to reward, right, and down in win rate, the higher risk to rewards have a more volatile and positive increase overall in expectancy, okay? But there's different challenges to both of them from a practical standpoint, right? If you trade a really low win rate, high risk to reward system, which many traders are attempting to do because that's what they're taught, you need to make twice as much when you're right. You need to hold your winners to a 3-to-1 every single time. You're inherently going to have a low win rate. You're going to take more losing trades than you are winning trades. And from a practical standpoint, that can be difficult to work with, right? That can be very hard to build confidence in, right? It can be very hard to trade through the long losing streaks. You're going to lose more trades and have more losing streaks than you are winning streaks, right? But the same could be said for that's a negative for a high risk to reward, low win rate, right? If you have a more moderate risk to reward or even what we call a negative risk to reward, somebody had to try to rip my head off on that. Negative risk to reward being below a 1-to-1. Risking more than you stand to make, right? Like a 0.5-to-1. I risk $100 and I make 50. High win rate. If your win rate starts to falter at all, if you drop off, that equity curve is going to decrease very sharply, right? So there's just different, but you end up with a nice positive win rate and you go on win streaks. So there's different benefits and drawbacks to both. But what I think is important to recognize from the beginning is the basic math behind it, right? The basic understanding that we have to operate in, that there's no edge in win rate or risk to reward alone, okay? If I have a 10-to-1 risk to reward and I just place every trade with $100 of risk and $1,000 of reward, that doesn't mean I'm going to make money. I don't know if that's what you guys think, but there's no inherent edge in risk to reward alone in isolation. Same with win rate. You might have a 95% win rate because you risk $10,000, and as soon as $10 shows up, you close out at $10, right? You could still lose money because you'll blow your account on the one, loss that you take after taking, 20 tiny baby wins in a row. It's the combination of these two things. It's those two together, along with everything else that we use in trading, right? So I think that can be helpful to understand, right? That's my thought process. Questions on that? concerns, feel free to let me know. I recently played with risk reward. Yeah, we said that. So yeah, again, risk reward alone doesn't. So how would I apply this practically, right? What are you doing and what's working, what's not working, right? Look at your data and try to make adjustments in the right direction based on your trading itself. That's where I think this stuff really starts to come together. But don't feel like you have to trade one way or another. Let's see. Recall coming across a trader on Reddit that posted an image of their trades for the day. It was crazy. It looked like they took a trade every minute. So I assume they were scalping. Sure. Trying to compete in a highly modified 20 pip challenge trading crypto. Okay, well, that's just an advertisement. So I'm going to... We're just going to remove you. That wasn't a question. That was just an advertisement. I've had green days, but I have no idea how the system worked. I would die. Yeah, many different ways to do this. You don't burn out yet. That makes sense. Just the idea of edge fascinates me, especially which variable has the most input. Thanks for all the input. I can trade news like a champ. Most prop firms discourage it. Trade news. If you want to trade news, trade news. That's what I keep saying. Don't complicate stuff. Just pick a side and YOLO it. Sometimes it helps. Market makers will get you anyway. There's the troll comment from Wolf. No, find what works for you. There's all of the variables add in, right? So here's the challenge with trading. I don't know how long you've been trading, brother, but here's kind of the overall challenge. Finding something that works well for you. As I watch this trade, sellers tried to take this thing lower, man, and now we're pushing back up on it. Frustrating. This looks like it. This now on the push back up, increasing CVD. I'm not, again, no close. I trust my stops, but if there was a point in a trade where I allowed myself the discretion to close out early, it's right about now. But I don't. Stick to your trading plan, stick to your overall, doing something consistently. But if there was a time where I would be closing out with discretion, right about now. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out for me today. Could have got out of the trade, which I'll make a note, right? Strong indication that this might not work out, around $225 worth of loss. No closeout because I don't allow myself the discretion to do that, right? I have basic guardrails in place for my trading. Let's see how that plays out. Does it work in my favor? Does it not work in my favor? A little bit more of what's right, a little bit less of what's wrong. So find what works for you. Find the way that you want to trade, the style, the way that you interpret the markets, how you can trade with the least amount of friction. Lean into that and continue to make small improvements. That's what this is. That's what trading is. Try not to go too much on this hunt of like what the best variable is to create. I think thinking in terms of what works best for you personally, your style, your approach, the time you can trade, how much time you can allot to the charts, whether you want to scalp or swing trade, what instruments you want to trade. Lean into that. Track your data. Make adjustments in the right direction. That's the way that I would look at it. Most traders go the other way. They overcomplicate it, crazy. I just need to do X, Y, Z, and I'll make $1 zillion. If it was that simple, we'd all be making $1 zillion. Picking apart things and ideas is in my nature. Absolutely. I feel that. Here's where I would do it, right? Here's where I would focus that energy, Rhombus. This is a good conversation. You know that the market makers kidnap you if you trade profitably for too long. Thanks, Wolf. Here's where I would focus that energy. Pick apart your trading. Track your results and pick apart your trading. And continue doing one thing for a long period of time and look to find out ways to improve. But constantly testing, constantly trying new, different, random things and never actually doing anything consistently where you can start to have a base and then improve upon it is where a lot of traders get stuck, right? So I would decide on something, whatever it is, make it simple, make it consistent, give yourself a clean way to structure risk, and then start to trade that. Forward test it, trade it on demo, whatever you want to do. Look at your results, making money, losing money. Where are we making more money and where are we losing more money? How can we improve this? That's where I think focus your energy, focus your picking apart, and you're asking yourself the hard questions. I think what you'll find is, for the most part, it's execution, right? Mindset, psychology, where you said past that, that's where we find most traders struggle. But you'll find things in your trade management, right? You'll find things in your bias, in your entries, in your risk structure, right? Where you can improve. That's where I think we can start to make progress and then continue to make progress as traders. And then, plot twist, you never get to stop doing that. You have to continue doing that. Trust your system, trust your strategy, trust your approach. But if you want to continue to improve, you have to continue to review, look at what's working, look at what's not working, make small changes over large sample sizes, adapt, right? That's the process. That's the process. But a lot of traders, myself included, get stuck hunting, whether we want to admit it or not, for the holy grail. This combination of system and mechanical things that we can do that will just save us from all of our poor execution, poor mindset, ever really just finding something that's our own, and we hunt for that. And we stay there for a long time. Maybe you learn a little bit about the markets, a little bit about yourself, but I think you'd be way better suited, recognizing that if you were a monkey hitting the buy and sell button with a 1-to-1 in rent, let's say on ES over a long enough period, you'd end up around break even. And if you're ending up around break even, you're doing way better than what most traders do, including myself starting out, which is straight up lose money. And how can I increase from break even? How can I structure my trades in a way that makes sense? How can I wait for market conditions to align in a way that, maybe gives me a little bit more of an indication of what's about to happen next, right? How can I maybe do something while the trade's on that's going to give me a little bit more of a way to extract money from the markets, moving my stop loss to break even, adding in profit, never running to take profit and trailing, right? Trade management. But starting from like a really stupidly simple point is what I wish I did. Really what I wish I did. Rather than go to the extreme complex in every category and try to figure out this insanity. Didn't work for me. Maybe it will work for you. I don't know. But that's my thought process. You got to know what kind of trader you are. I'm not in a place to hold, and I am 5-minute breakout momentum trader. So I think sometimes people follow people and they try to emulate them when it doesn't, imitate them when it doesn't move to the next strategy, the next influencer, etc. Absolutely. I closed my trade. Nice. Takes time to figure out what kind of trader you are. Absolutely. Right. What are your strengths? Right. Are you able to hold trades at all? Where is your good read in the market? Where do you find yourself really being able to pick out and have a good, indication, whether it's a little bit of discretion and intuition, implicit memory of what's happening, right? There's vastly different types of trading and styles. Are you trading with the trend, or are you constantly counter? Are you trading momentum on a very low time frame? Are you, swing trading, right? All of these things are going to come into play. So absolutely, trader, great analysis and comment. Find out what type of trader you are. Don't try to copy what somebody else is doing for the sake of copying what they're doing. It's not going to play well for you. You got to find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. Play to your strengths. Try to control the weaknesses. An example of that for me, I think, would be I do have a really strong strength for being able to hold trades. I find when I zoom out, widen stop losses and widen take profits, I can hold stuff to break even and draw down and break even and profit and back again, where most traders would just really struggle. I can play to that in my trading. I find if I zoom in an insane amount and I try to trade breakout momentum with a tight stop loss, for example, maybe I struggle, right? I don't do as well. You can also identify things that maybe don't help you. I do tend to find myself looking contrary to the trend overall, and I try to be cautious of that. Sometimes I try to apply it to my trading in a positive way. Sometimes I try to recognize it and do the opposite, right? I understand it as a weakness. But know who you are as a trader, the way that you view the market. Find something that provides less friction for you personally, and build a strategy around that. There's a million different ways to trade, a million different combinations and ways to trade, for sure. But good conversation. Great conversation. I was also trying to trade Forex futures. Now it's down to MNQ and MYM. I let everything else go. Be an expert. There's a feel to your assets. Algos don't have the feel thing down. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You watch me trade the same thing day in and day out, right? This is also a preference. A lot of traders trade multiple assets, a lot of different instruments at the same time with success. If you do that, fantastic. Personally, I believe if you're going to day trade, intraday, day trading on low time frames, the version of you that trades one instrument day in and day out on the same chart with the same tools for months at a time is going to build serious discretion, intuition, implicit memory, a feel for the way the market moves across all of the different times of the year and week and month and different things that go on, way better than the version of you that tries to trade everything. Right? An example would be someone that trades NQ, ES, YM, gold, crude oil, and they also trade the Mag 7 intraday, and they trade Forex. They trade 5 different pairs on Forex, right? Trading's the same. The structuring of risk is the same, right? The mechanics are overall the same. But if you watch one instrument day in and day out, you develop a very, very strong feel for that instrument, right? I think it's very helpful. So, but again, that's preference. And somebody else will tell you, nope, you're pigeonholing yourself. You're going to go into a range and you're going to have bad market conditions and you're going to lose capital trying to trade and force your will on the market, when it's not setting up for you. Diversify, different stuff. I also think this, the more zoomed in you are, the more you need to stay on one instrument. The more zoomed out you are, the more you swing trade style. Sure, you're able to apply that, I think, to a lot more market conditions. Everything moves way slower, a lot more instruments. So, but yeah, I would agree with that. You coming on for Power Hour today? 50-50 for Power Hour today. I had a completely jacked up morning. I got now hours of work that I did yesterday that I have to do again, which is just super frustrating. But so I'm 50-50. It's funny because all the old advice about moving averages didn't pan out during the New York session. I noticed that in other sessions they tend to work better, especially with something other than NQ and ES. Yeah, it just depends. That was me. Call me a pigeon then. Yeah, no, I like to do the same, right? I like to do the same here on ES. What are your thoughts on hedging and dollar cost averaging? It can work. Right? I was in Nick Sean's community for a long time. If you want to learn about dollar cost averaging and hedging in a really interesting way, that you can't really do with a U.S. regulated Forex broker, but it enamored me. I was never able to make it work myself, but I was really interested in it. Nick Sean's a great resource for that. But yeah, sure, that can work. In my humble opinion, intraday, first off, you can't do it. We're talking in general, Trader Julie Case. So in general, Rhombus, trading futures, there's not a good way to hedge anything. You're not allowed to do that. With anything, right? And it doesn't really make sense to do it intraday. I don't think, personally. Dollar cost averaging for the most part is a death sentence. I've seen very, very, very few traders be able to do it well intraday. Almost nobody. Adding to losers is almost always a losing strategy and a death sentence. It feels good. It feels like the right thing to do, which is almost always the wrong thing to do. But I've almost seen nobody do that with success. I think dollar cost averaging makes a whole lot of sense in long-term investment strategies in your Roth IRA or maybe with like crypto plays or something, But for the most part, no. In swing trading Forex, like I was just describing, I've seen both be done with success. But it's technical and you have to have the right mindset for that. You really have to have the right mindset and view to be able to do that. Death sentence. Yep, here. Yeah. So, but Trader Julie Case said, yeah, my understanding, Top One Futures doesn't allow hedging. Yeah. So no hedging at all in any prop firms. Not allowed. You can't hedge within prop firms, within accounts, within instruments. Don't do that. Immediate bans for doing that. Not allowed to hedge. But it doesn't really make sense unless you were able to do it really quickly. But you're not able to do it with U.S. regulated brokers anyway. With Forex. You're not allowed to hedge. You have first in, first out rules that prevent you from doing things like that. My experience, moving averages only work in a trending day when consolidation occurs. Yeah, I think moving averages can be interesting. Work with I've watched Isaac trade a lot. I've had him on the show. I understand his approach. The 200-day moving average is something really interesting. It's often near VWAP, but I think the higher time frame moving averages that take into account a lot of data can be pretty helpful. They can be pretty interesting lines in the sand for sure. But I think you're better off focusing on price action and market structure itself. Strip your charts, focus on price action and market structure, utilize whatever tools you want to utilize. That's great. But recognize a moving average, even a volume weighted average price, even, visible range volume profile. All of these things are giving us the data that's already available from price action and market structure. Technically, volume is a different metric, right? Order flow would be a different metric, but almost every indicator that we could add on this chart is going to be some combination of price, volume, and time, right? That's already on the chart with price, volume, and time. So I'm a big fan of nearly naked charts. I know I have somewhat of a lot on my chart, or what it feels like, but I like VWAP for a line in the sand. I think it's so hard to dispute the way that price reacts around VWAP. I think it's extremely watched in the futures market, and it just is something that I've yet to see many things come into play. I don't use it as some cut and dry thing that I do XYZ when it comes to it. Visible range volume profile and volume down on the bottom, helpful for the 15-minute chart. I do like to utilize it for marking zones, but you could essentially take that off my chart if you wanted to. Order flow on the side, I do like as well. So yeah, that's my thought process. Good questions, guys. We're coming to the long end of this. Man. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm going to throw, this is a great conversation. Got some new people in here today. I'm going to throw as we're all the way back down into profit on this long hold of a trade. Excuse me. I use cumulative volume delta. It helps with bias. Yeah, I really like CVD. I really like cumulative volume delta. So I'm throwing the 100% free trading community, my Discord, in there. It's a whoop link, but there ain't nothing for sale there. It's a email to get in. More than happy to have any of you guys on here. Talk about trading. Talk about everything under the sun as it relates to trading. Also, if you want to check out Top 1 Futures as this trade comes back down to VWAP, 50% off Top 1 Futures, and one of the biggest giveaways, 40 accounts up for grabs. 40, 25K instant funded accounts. The more favorable end of day trailing drawdown, no ESS, no challenge, no activation fee accounts. Every purchase using code RDF gets you one entry to win, all the way through Sunday, August 31st. I'll be yapping about it because I love giveaways, man. I used to love winning them myself. I'm sad that I can't win my own giveaways these days. But if you want to check out Top 1 Futures, as I spit on my keyboard, link is in the top of the chat, pinned everywhere. Feel free to check that out. If you guys want to support me, support the channel, support yourself, that's a way to do it. But remember, I'm partnered, I'm affiliated, I stand to make money. I can't be unbiased if I stand to make money. That's the definition of not being able to be unbiased. So, as I repeat, go to the site, read the rules, do your own research, and make your own decision, right? I don't think there's any one best of anything in this space. Even the stuff that I promote. I think that the stuff that I promote, that I'm partnered with, the prop firms, the software, is badass. And I think it's a great opportunity in general, relative to everything else that's out there. But does that mean it's the best for you individually? I don't know. You might trade a 10% win rate, 30-to-1 risk to reward, and a consistency rule at any prop firm that has one is not going to work well for you, okay? So maybe there's maybe you're a live account only trader. So go to the website. I really mean that. Go to the website, read the rules, read the frequently asked questions, reach out, ask questions if you have it, and make the best decision for you. That's the way. I joined over the weekend as I realized, nice. Dang, the YM, I was short. It came back up. hit my trailing stop, and now it's going back down. It's BS. Market maker's wolf, you see? Let's see what NASDAQ's doing. Let's go around the horn. NASDAQ popped. Yeah, NASDAQ popped a little more aggressively. Came all the way up a little bit higher relative to yesterday's price action. Kind of drifting back down towards VWAP. Is YM in its own world, or was YM playing along today? Kind of in its own world. YM has really been living in its own world. This is, wow. Yeah, I don't know about that, guys. That's a lot. Pretty choppy from YM, but not like selling off super aggressively as the other ones were pushed in the upside today. We saw some crazy divergences between the U.S. indices. I don't use the correlations together. Every once in a while, I take a look at what one of the other ones are doing, but we'll zoom out, let the VWAPs reset, come back to our trade that hit VWAP, and look at that. Look at the bounce off of VWAP. I'm sure we got a lot of the ASFX boys getting long off this, while I'm going to still hold this short. Yeah, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. This is what I'm looking at to the downside. I'm not saying I'm going to try to call this out in Discord. I really try. If I have a trade on that I leave on through after hopping off, I try to call out what I'm doing if I have a chance. But I go run errands, I run around, I hop on meetings, I make content, I do a bunch of different stuff. If we start to sell off through VWAP, I'm looking all the way down below session low. I would start to get cautious around the 40s, between here and here, right? I'm not going to close on a little bit of a dip down further for $200. It's going to be a full stop out rather than that. But I'd be interested to see if we sell off down around those 40s, what happens. I think we could find these buyers down here, grab this liquidity, and then maybe start to turn back. But I would have to see what happens when we get down there. I really would have to see what happens when we get down there, which is why I'm not throwing a take profit down here, right? I think we could really aggressively start to run these lows and head back to an overnight low, right? Make this a really solid trade. So that's my thesis. Holding this one short. It's been back and forth, back and forth. Drawdown, red, green, red, green. Here we go, back towards the entry here. I'm leaving it on. If I have to fully step away from the charts, yeah, let's do that. If I have to fully step away from the charts, I'm going to say, let me look at the yeah, 35s would be pretty aggressive. If I was going to completely not pay attention, I'd probably throw a stop down here. And just in case I start to completely not pay attention, I'm going to throw a stop down here. But I'm probably looking at something along these lines. Somewhere around that level. But for as a last ditch, like we should have a Trump tweet, take profit in, probably down here. But I don't know that I'm holding all the way down for a break of overnight low. We'll have to see. So that's my thesis, guys. One trade. We don't have a win or loss yet. We're going to see. Back into green. Let's see. We find buyers at VWAP. We start to push to the upside. Unless we start to sell off really aggressively here. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to chop around. We're going to come back up, test the highs, then maybe we come back through. So, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Thanks for being here. You guys will see how this trade plays out in Discord. I hope you hop in. If you want to check out Top 1 Futures one more time, for those of you that hopped on late, because I see we had a bunch of people, code RDF gets you the best deal. It's pinned to the top of the chat. 40, 25K instant funded accounts are up for grabs. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for being here every dang day. 50-50 for Power Hour. I don't know, man. I got to deal with Instagram jerking me around, which is super frustrating, but I'm going to try to make it back on for Power Hour. Talk to you guys soon. Quick disclaimer. Remember, trading's very risky. Most traders lose money. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't provide financial advice. Nothing I say or do is a suggestion or recommendation to do anything at all. Do your own research. Make your own trading decisions. Read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is. Even if funded prop from accounts, and the affiliate and partners disclaimer that says I stand to make money from links and codes in my content like Top 1 Futures, code RDF, Bookmap, and others. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much. Great conversations. Thanks everybody for chatting it up with me. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of the